Same as per usual, it'll be a minute or so. I'm looking for something to talk about.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine. You're fine. Get in there.
Alright. Pretty good engagement. We just kind of walked at them, which is what you're supposed to do there.
Hell yeah, man. There was this old strategy like my team would do, where like our Ana, very good Ana by the way, he would always nano boost me when I play Winston. He says jump in and I'll nano boost you. I've always had a problem with that for some reason.
Oh, no, I mean, that's a very, very good way to be using Nano and Monkey, right? Because you're just getting a lot of cleave damage on everybody.
I'd rather have my jump when I get nano boosted, so I know where I'm jumping into, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how you're coordinating it. Either or works. It just depends on your preference and how you're trying to coordinate it. Right, nice stop on that res. Alright, overall, really good.
Enemy in my sight.
That is unfortunate. Make sure we're watching, just keeping our eyes and ears open and watching that respawn so we're not getting charged out of nowhere. Besides that, I really liked your primal. It was maybe a little bit slow to begin with, but I really liked that we had an objective in mind with the primal. And do you, I guess, just clarify for me, what was your objective in mind while you were primaling?
Um, Getting out like squishies, like I would, I would always like if there's like not really good healer to target, I just kind of try to displace the team a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe try
so
to like take out like a hero like Ashe or something like that. Because Moira and Lucio are extremely hard to juggle. They're probably like the two hardest like healers to juggle in the game, from what I've noticed.
yeah,
So
so I did notice that you're looking to displace them. How are you specifically looking to displace them? Because I think I'm looking for a specific answer. So I'm wondering if this is what you were thinking or not. So to re-ask my question, yes, you with your ultimate you were displacing them. In what way were you displacing them?
like that bridge, like in between like choke and the point, if you get, I feel like that would just stop him for like probably 15, 20 seconds. So we have an opportunity to like go in and like try to take point and take a couple
Yeah.
ticks.
So specifically, I would say what you were doing to displace them, like whether or not you were thinking about it or not, was you were booping them into your team, which for
That's also what I
them,
was doing.
yeah, which for them is unexpected. So it gives them it kind of gives your team that surprise advantage, especially if it's communicated. But it's unexpected for their team, so they're all like panicking and like, what the heck is happening? It just boops them out of potentially good positioning that they have there, and then it also just makes it so that like if you're not booping their entire team into you, you just boop like one or two people. Well, then your team can focus those 1 to 2 people down, right? Additionally, with it, you also got the mercy. I don't know if that one was. I think we just kind of landed on top of her right as she was doing it, but that was a bonus as well that
Yeah.
happened.
Oh, sure.
All right. So honestly, really good gameplay. Not a ton to like, maybe small efficiency critiques here and there, but like nothing very massive to go over so far.
Yeah. Like, um, I've always had a like when I saw that that was the first map you were going over, I was actually pretty happy because on Temple of Anubis attacking like the first point, that's the
Mm,
point like I've kind of had trouble with like like
in the
soft
past.
diving and stuff.
Mm. Yeah. So I mean, like, if you're, do you say first point specifically?
Yeah, first point
Yeah.
like
For
the high ground.
yeah, like the first high ground.
Yes.
So that first high ground, you can just, like, in that situation, in a lot of cases, you can probably just dive up to the high ground with the intention of pretty much immediately just dropping off and getting around, like, the bottom corner, right? Just dropping off of high ground. And then what that does is that still creates a little bit of pressure, a little bit of space, a little bit of, you're getting the soft dive in there, while also escaping and being ready to go back in, right? Because when you drop off that high ground, they're not, in a lot of cases, they're not going to chase you off the high ground, right? Because then if they
Right.
did, then they give up the high ground. So you can just get out of their line of sight, and then they can't shoot you anymore. So that's in a lot of cases, that's what you do with when people are up on high grounds, is you dive up to the high ground, and then when you need to leave, exit, you back off and drop off of the high ground. Other options there is you could always try to maybe go bait point. You could go up like the right side and do something like go for if anybody's flanking or something of the sort. Okay. Maybe a little bit of an unnecessary bubble, right? Make sure we're thinking about like what is my bubble actually doing? Is it blocking anything in particular? Maybe go in depth on that if we haven't already. Consider not needing to leap all the way out, because then that means that makes it even harder for your supports to get you. Maybe just get around the corner and sit on point, right? That way your supports you can still be pushing cart, you're still there when you're needed, and then your supports can still heal you. Keep your ears open. Reinhardt just got pinned in your back line. Right, so make sure we're listening and keeping our ears open, because that's a free kill if we're listening. Well, adding in a melee there also finishes him, right? So watch for that melee combo when you're landing on people for that burst damage.
This will protect us.
Nice short dive. I am noticing that you're doing those short dives very frequently, so that's a good that you are watching for when that's necessary.
Barrier activated. No.
Right.
I need healing.
Oh, there we almost did it very good, but we weren't hugging cover well enough, and we were also jumping, so watch your spam jumping, because the spam jumping in general, just going jump isn't going to be great for you, because it makes you easier to headshot, and then also it can, like, for example, there when we're behind cart, it put us out of cover. You lose control over your mobility, makes it easier for them to see us, so make sure we're just hugging cover better there, being closer to it. Maybe could have gone into the mega room as well.
Right. Alright. Oh, we got a Ryan.
No. Make sure that we are in that situation. Like if we're going in for that 1v6, our plan needs to be I'm using Primal, or we shouldn't be in the 1v6, right? Because we know we're gonna blow up immediately. So make sure we're just watching for like how many players am I going up against, and then there probably could have used Primal to save ourselves, or we shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place.
Don't trickle, don't trickle, don't trickle.
Keep in mind you're saying that as your whole team is there.
I was trying to... I was watching for the McCree, see if, like, he needed, like, help, or if he was just gonna stay there or, like, come with us.
Good target priority there. Maybe use Primal to chase her. Yeah, exactly. Right, because you see she's low. Alright, very good Primal.
Ah.
Helden sterben nicht. Securing the payload.
Excuse me for dropping in.
Okay, there we drop from high ground, even though Soldier was already dead. Also watch... Oh. Also watch that bubble usage again, because we're using it when not necessary. We might discuss, go a little bit more in depth on that after we're done here.
Alright.
Get in there.
Feeling powerful, and I'm not even angry.
Okay. Might wanna to have considered picking a different target since Soldier has such high mobility. He can just kind of run away from you, and then most of your ultimate gets wasted when we can pick another target that could be easier to go for, right? Yeah, so after this game is done, we'll go over bubble usage. Whoa.
Oh!
We'll go over bubble usage in depth, and then we'll maybe, if you'd like to, we can go back in this game and just look at all of the bubbles that we used real quick, because that shouldn't take, you know, maybe 5 minutes max.
I'd actually like that.
Helden sterben nicht. Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
This will protect us.
Right. Consider bubbling there when you just need to save your skin, right? You're low. Again, we'll discuss bubble usage in depth more. Potentially also could have used primal as another option, right? So just keep in mind we're dying when we have two different options to not die, right?
Barrier activated.
Let's get it moving. My ultimate is fully charged. Get in there. Heroes never die. I'm activating
One small
Okay, good job with that target priority.
physics.
Mecha activated.
This will heal you.
Get in there.
I'm feeling unstoppable.
Die deep.
Pardon me. Running to the offense. This will protect us.
Watch your back. Step right up.
I'm under attack. This will restore you.
Excuse me for dropping in.
Get him out.
This will protect us.
Help securing the payload.
Cover me. Heal you.
Consider just using primal to just boop them off a point, right? You do have that as an option, so you can just sit on top of point, just use it to knock everyone away, and then that's a free cap when you're like 2 seconds away from capping, right? You don't want to do that when you're like 10 seconds away. If you're only 2 seconds away, then you can manage it. So yeah, we'll go over bubble usage here in a moment. Have we ever gone over like bubble usage, I guess, like in depth at all?
We've gone over it, but like not as much in depth as this. That's probably like the thing
Okay.
I've been having the most trouble with.
Okay. So yeah, we can go over that. Trying to I feel like there's like one more thing I was gonna mention, but I can't. It's like on the tip of my tongue, but it's fine. We'll go over bubble usage, and then you can don't queue up for a game quite yet. I'm streaming, so when you are going to be using your bubbles, right? You have to think through all the different ways that we could use them, and there's a lot of different ways that you use your bubble, right? So this is, I would say, is similar to the different ways that you can use your shield as Reinhardt and Orisa and Sigma. All right, this is the different reasons why you would use your shield in the first place. So in general, you would use your bubble for abilities and ultimates, right? Now ultimates, I would say, are definitely much more important, right? Ultimates in a lot of cases are going to be the bigger ones to block. So think, for example, using your bubble to block a shatter, or to block a visor, or to block a high noon, etc. You can block probably like half of them. So Using bubble to block ultimates, of course, is a great way to use it. You can also use it to block abilities, which is something that maybe people know that they can do, but don't really actively think about, like which which abilities can I block in this game, right? Actively thinking that through. Sometimes that can be even handy to go over in your head before, like, right at the start of the game if needed, right? So, like, for example, you can block a Roadhog hook if you're, like, smack dab in the middle of the open and you're like, oh snap, I can't do anything and Roadhog's about to hook me, right? You have bubble as an option. Or even if Roadhog hooks somebody else. Besides that, you have bubble that you can use when you are low or a teammate is low. And now I'm going to specify here, because you don't need it just when somebody's low, right? Because somebody can be low and sitting in our spawn over here and be completely safe, right? And I can also, and this is where you get into danger, I can also be in danger and in the middle of their team and be full HP and maybe not necessarily need my bubble, right? So you have to analyze when is it needed, and typically the answer is when you are low and in danger, or sometimes just in danger, right? Low on its own is never a direct indication of needing a bubble, right? It's low and in danger because typically your lowness level can indicate danger, right? Like if it's going to make it so you're in more danger if you're low, right? I hope that makes sense. So make sure that we're bubbling when it's actually needed, not when we just see someone's low or we just see someone's in danger. And sometimes, again, you can be full HP and there's a diva bomb right next to you and you're very much in danger, right? Moving on, you also need, you need to do that for yourself, but then also for your teammates. You bubble for when you are pushing in aggressively and taking space, and then sometimes also even when you're backing out and leaving space. That way you have a way to cover so you're not taking so much damage. But in general, the general rule of thumb for most shields is you don't want to just put it out there for... Oh, sorry, one more. Is when you're bubbling like high amounts of spam damage or like when it's needed, right? So that'd be, for example, like if your whole team is in a grav, right? Like you need to bubble to save the lives, right? That'd be kind of like danger level, right? But it's also just the amount of damage that they're going to be pumping into you guys you need to bubble for. So, right, we went over all those. When you do not use bubble, typically is going to be when it's just random spam damage, right? Like if you just have their team just flat up shooting you, typically it's not a reason why you should be using bubble, because you can always just use cover, and your bubble's a precious resource that's on a 13-second cooldown that you're not getting super frequently, so you can't drop it every single time they press the shoot button, which is going to be the whole entire game. So if you were to just bubble every time you have a DPS looking and shooting in your team's direction, that means that you're never going to have a bubble to do anything important with, right? So a lot of times, like, this is another like big no-no that kind of is in the same category. With our bubbles, like a decent bit, we kind of just like plop them here, like, right? We just kind of walk in and plop them like face down, right? Where it's just gonna sit there, and because your bubble doesn't have a lot of health and it has a very wide radius, it's going to melt instantly, right? Sometimes bubbles can go down within 2 seconds after placement. So if we're just plopping it here, it's not really doing a ton besides absorbing random spam damage and then instantly being useless, right? So I'd advise against it, again, unless you're bubbling. Like, you can do this all day if you're 1 HP, right? Or if your teammates are 1 HP, etc. Additionally, just a lot of times we'll use it when nothing is needed. We'll go in and maybe we'll be in like I don't know, we'll be chasing someone and they're not even looking at us, right? We'll be chasing someone down, they're not even looking in our direction. We're not low. We don't need it at all, and then we'll plop bubble down, right? So you want to make sure that when you're bubbling, it's actually doing something, right? That it's actually accomplishing a task, blocking some form of damage or ability or ultimate, etc. Right? So I would just make sure we're thinking through that. So if you'd like, why don't we go over into your replay? If you'd like to just give me that code real quick, and we can spend, probably shouldn't, like I said, shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. Just go through real quick, glance at some of the bubbles we did, and like I'll point out the ones in specific that I'm thinking about when when I'm mentioning all this, where we could have done better?
All right, I'm just gonna pull up right now.
Yep, and then just making sure that all makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Share.
Natural selection. Unfortunate.
All right.
Also, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nothing. You can go.
Yeah, one other tiny thing is that I will note that in comparison to past sessions, you are doing much better with not just spamming left click when it's not needed, really when you're nowhere close to people, though I will note that it's still a thing that exists within your gameplay, it's just not nearly as frequent, so I would just look to iron that out just a little bit more, but, that's nitpicky. Alright.
Yeah, I could see that. Let's see.
Alrighty.
Traveling to Route
Ready for
66.
battle.
So, I'm gonna real quick
Yeah, I wouldn't drink the
change
coffee.
the
Always tastes
skip speed.
good.
Alright, so we're just gonna skip around, see when we use our bubbles, right? So like prime example right here. First bubble out of the gate, we jump up, we come in, we plop bubble down immediately, but then my question instantly is, what for? We're, you know, who's well, I mean, like if you have a reason here, I mean, feel free to go ahead. But I don't see a reason that the bubble for something that bubble's accomplishing, right?
My ideology was I saw someone shooting out of that little uh that thing right there, and I was like, okay, maybe that could be a purpose. That was like my line of reasoning that, but clearly
Ne-
that was a mercy that just decided to shoot for some reason, just fly away for Doomfist to
Okay,
come and
yeah.
hunt me.
So make sure that we're watching just like that's awareness, right? You're just paying attention to which characters it is. If we're worried about like people shooting at us from here, n- bubbles never going to be necessary where cover could better suffice, right? You're never gonna need a shield when you could just use cover, right? Like it's I guess it's as simple as that typically because in the situation, if we're not shooting at those guys and we're looking at Doomfist, then why would we stand right here where they could see us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here, not accomplishing a ton. Therefore, bubble gets mainly largely wasted. Okay, I think we do another one here where watch. I think we just kind of plop it right. So here it's not going to be close enough for us to get within range to do anything. So we're not using it to get aggressive, right? We're just kind of plopping it here. We're not like diving in with it. Here we'd probably want to be diving up into their high ground, right? That would probably be the best move unless we heard Reinhardt behind us, which we should of course be going for Reinhardt, but in the absence of Reinhardt, we probably go above them. But here just notice how like, no one's low, no one's in danger. No one, we're not blocking any abilities or ultimates besides the Helix, but that's not a very powerful ability. Um, and in this situation, we're not getting super aggressive. We're not backing out and playing passive. We're just kind of plopping it there for spam damage, right? So therefore, this bubble's not really accomplishing a ton, and we could just sit here normally and then get back up when we let Zarya's bubble do some work. Back up when we start getting low, or we could use it when we like dive up into their high ground, and then we could actually again use it when it's needed. Alright, so this one I think does do stuff because we're actually getting aggressive and are in a fight. So maybe could walk forwards like an extra 2 steps and then use it. But I mean, this is completely fine. That's nitpicky. This is perfectly reasonable of a place to be using it because again, there you're actually in the fight and it's actually stopping you from taking damage when the fight's happening, which is much more important than when you're just kind of looking at each other. Alright, skip. I think we bubble here. Yep. Again, this is fine because you are going to need it when you're in imminent danger, and this is a situation where are in imminent danger. This is where we watch how we could use cover here by running off to the right side pretty easily, and then or getting behind cart. And here we kind of also keep in mind that if you need to You can also look at the floor, and then that stops you from getting headshot as easily because it changes your head hitbox. So looking at the ground or turning around can make it so they can't headshot you. Right, but watch how we get around cover and then we jump and then we walk around the corner from cover, right? Okay, so here we come out. I think this bubble is fine if I recall. I think we do a short jump there, or maybe we should have done a long one, but bubble's fine. This is where we kind of overstayed our welcome.
Re-engaging. This will protect us.
I think this one was, yeah, this one's pretty fine. This one's maybe a little bit spammy because we don't look at like the cover that we have, and Reinhardt's like 1 second away from dying, right? So this one, yes, this one probably isn't needed, right? No one's low, no one's in danger. Ryan's 1 second away from dying, so maybe it would probably be better used when we're diving in after Mercy in 2 seconds, right? And we're getting more aggressive and going in. So in that situation, bubble gets largely just is thrown down for spam, which is again is the big issue so far with our bubbles, is that we're just tossing them down for soaking up spam damage rather than actually doing something. We're using it to where we're gonna get value. Okay, this is fine because we're using it while we're in a duel. This is another acceptable example where you can use your bubble, because if we're trying to duel Reaper without a bubble, we're going to be in a very hard place. Also, might not recommend trying to duel Reaper because Reaper is not a very easy character to duel.
No, I
Thanks,
know.
Winston.
I just saw like you know
Someone
what?
up there, yeah.
There's a chance I can escape. I can 100% escape if I need to,
Yeah.
and he's alone. So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
just
like,
thought of it.
it's guiding your team over to him too, so it's not that's not a major issue. It's not a big problem. Here, watch this one, right? Where this is an example of the low danger thing, right? Where we are low health, right? We're 130 HP, but the question becomes, right here, are we in danger?
Oh,
No, so maybe bubble's not necessary, and we could just request healing, and we'd be perfectly fine. But once Reaper turns that corner, then bubble becomes necessary because he's about to blossom in half a second, right?
that might have just been a bad blossom.
Yeah, I mean, but he blossomed went while the bubble was there. Okay, that one again is fine because we're cutting off Soldier from his heals. We're using it in the duel, all right?
Barrier active.
I think this is another bad one here, though I can't recall. Yeah, this one like is used kind of while he's turned around and running away. So he's just watching what our enemies are doing. That way we're not bubbling when nobody's looking, shooting at us, and then additionally, maybe not even necessary since we have a diva here. So he just kind of ends up sitting there. Just remember that stationary does move with you, so we always have to put it we always have to think about like, where is the fight going? We can't plop it down and then expect it to come along with us. We have to predict, all right, or we have to think through, am I moving forwards here? Am I moving backwards here? If I'm going to be moving forwards, maybe I should put it up a couple of inches, right? Or a couple of meters, right? If I'm backing out, maybe I should be waiting a second and putting it further back, right? So we just want to be thinking about like, where are we going, because it is stationary.
Barrier up.
Uh-oh, there we kind of got like booped into it, and then maybe also there's a little bit of hesitation, but not a massive deal.
I just didn't have jump.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Ziegler.
Okay, so we can think through like, what exactly is this bubble accomplishing, right? It's stopping Moira from damaging us, and then besides that, nothing else, right? So not really super high value when it could be used later on in the fight when it is necessary. We just replace it, didn't we? Right, so we place it again here. This is an example, maybe an example of where we're using it to back up because we see we're in a little bit aggressive, we're in a little far, so we're using it as we're backing out. So I'd say that's an acceptable bubble. And then we push forwards with it, so we use that to kind of to create some space for ourselves. Right. There's an example where we could have used bubble because we were in danger and low, but we don't use bubble.
Get them off me.
That's an okay usage of bubble because we're just poking, we're kind of
Get in there.
soft diving though. Yeah, that's okay.
Heroes never die.
One small step.
Power of destruction.
Yep, that's fine. We're getting aggressive. We're going in their faces. Of course, we're gonna need it if we're to just stay alive. Let's see, do we use it?
This will protect.
I think we use it when we dive in the spawn here, which is perfectly fine because we're just keeping soldier at bay. And again, once again, we're in a duel with it. Alright. So I think we only have maybe like 1 or 2 more bubbles. Here, yeah, like this one's fine because once again, we're in the middle of the fight. We're in the middle dueling people. This is going to be useful for our entire team to be using. But the idea is that we don't want to just plop it down when we're poking at each other from a distance, right?
Right.
It's different from when you're on top of each other in a fight.
Excuse me for dropping.
So if you, yeah, so that bubble again, perfectly fine to be using. Might be of a little bit of better usage, like if we were to watch for like ultimates or abilities or something, but not nearly a big deal. All right, and that's it, I believe. And there's that one, and that one was good. All right, so that is pretty much it. All making sense, Jan?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, you can queue up for a game then, and then we probably got 1 or 2 more games or not 1, probably 2 since we're doing quick play games, right?
Yeah, probably. All right, let's go. Okay, this is actually a map that I wanted to like play a little bit.
Okay.
Traveling to Nepal.
All right. So with this point, I should. Would it be a good idea to go left or should I go forward with the team?
So on this point, are you asking like if you should go to like the high ground, or
I mean, I
we said left?
I should always go for the high ground. So
Well, not always. If the high ground's in the fight, you should go for high ground. So in this situation, I'd probably say you should go to point because the high ground's not necessarily near the fight, so you're not going to be able to get instant value from it. So yeah, like hugging this left side of point is perfectly reasonable, though maybe acquiring a target before we're just leaping into the fray would be a good idea, noting there that they did have a Lucio, so you're going in pretty much 1v6 since they got the point first, right, and our team's still behind point. Additionally, stay out of range of Reinhardt's hammer because you do have more range than him, his hammer versus your Tesla.
One for the other.
Maybe I will.
Ouch.
Okay, so like for example, that Hanzo's off on his own on the right side. We want to be looking just for those diving opportunities, keeping our eye out for those. Probably could have killed him if we just kept pressing there, and then that secures the kill faster. And then that means that we don't end up in their team without a jump, right?
yeah,
Additionally, like if you feel like that jump is going to kill you, always prioritize your life over getting the kill, right? It's always more important to stay alive than to try to get one single kill.
Yeah.
Now, if you know that your death is gonna cause you to get 4 kills, then that's a different story.
Barrier up.
Probably just grab a health pack, right? Watch our health bar, request healing if you need it. Uh-oh, Reinhardt stole it.
Get back in the fight.
My ultimate is ready.
Go. I'll be watching over.
I feel
Heroes
great.
never die.
Is Tracer a prime target of ours?
No, but I know how annoying it is for like healers and. All right.
Nano boost at minute.
Yeah, but you have to think about it kind of like we're not really gonna be able to kill a Tracer realistically unless unless she's low, unless she's out of blinks, unless etc. There's always the unless. But in general, we're not gonna be able to kill a Tracer, and in that situation, you saw she just instantly blinked away from us. So even though she's she's gonna put pressure on your supports, we can't really dive after Tracer if we can't kill her effectively. So you're much better off trying to focus the characters who you can kill, like Hanzo, like Ana, right, like Lucio, versus trying to chase after a Tracer who you can't really.
Name.
Nice juggling.
I seem to have lost my temper.
Oh, watch that, listen for it, leap away.
Re-engaging. Excuse me for dropping in. Barrier activated.
Heal up. Name. You're going to be okay. We're leaving to wake up.
Barrier up.
Where does it go? You should be at You're powered up. Get in there.
I'm feeling unstoppable. There's no stopping me.
Shot.
Perfect example of a good usage of bubble.
Heroes never die.
Question: have we reviewed audio settings before?
Yes, we did.
Yes,
We
all
actually went over that last time.
Okay, good. So then, I think I probably said this last time, but just make sure that you're keeping good, that you're paying attention to your audio, because I'm noticing a bunch of different examples of like where we just aren't hearing somebody who's behind us or next to us or something of that sort when it comes to enemies in particular. Right, so there's the example of Reinhardt who was behind us on Route 66, and then there in that last fight there was a Hanzo who was just sitting chilling out on point or like right to the side of point that right when we dove for ball that we could have just turned around and killed, but we didn't hear him. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our ears open for footsteps and gunshots and abilities and ultimates, right? All of which will tell us the location of players and will allow us to secure kills when people are out of position and whatnot.
You should be at the pain. Name.
Okay, good jump. When you're diving in on Ana, that's an example where you might want to use a bubble, so that way you're stopping those abilities, right? When you're diving in on target, that's an example where you're getting aggressive, and you probably want your bubble. That way you can duel them effectively, and then also it isolates them from their team and stops them from receiving healing and the like and abilities. So that's another example where you can probably, where you can probably bubble. you're not a face tank, let your Reinhardt be in front of you if you're just poking at a choke.
Barrier active. Put it out.
One left.
That's better. Fundamental.
Whoopsies.
Oh.
Thanks.
Heroes never
Onward
die.
and upward.
Heal up.
Name.
Thanks, Lucio.
The endangered species. Barrier activated. Trauma incoming.
Easy. It's Hanu.
Heroes never die.
Very nice. Boo.
I, appear to have lost control. Very hot.
I could use some assistance. This is not the end.
That's smart.
Now it's possible I might have been mistaken, but I think that Ana was 1 HP when we leapt away from her. So again, like what we only saw it for a split second, but again, awareness of paying attention to our surroundings, because that definitely changes our decision making. Knowing that Ana's 1 HP versus thinking that she's full HP. So right, I think it was literally right. No, it was not right here. Never mind, that was a different one. Alright, so you can probably go ahead and hop right into another one, and then we got 15 minutes left. Oh, yeah, so we got 15 minutes left. We might leave early on this one. Probably, yeah, so like we'll give you 5 more minutes in a game, and then we'll go over the remainders and whatnot.
Alright, cool.
Review.
That was that was much of a lackluster play of the game by me. I've had better.
Now entering King's Row.
This one I really need to check high ground because this is a really good high ground map.
Quality synchronization 100%. Good to be back. Type Echo.
The sight of one of my finest kills. That day, I felt alive.
Attack commences in 30 seconds.
If only human and Omnic could learn to live in peace here. Greetings. I will not juggle.
Mobility increase.
No.
Hi there.
Type Echo.
Walk
5, 4,
I swear if someone steps in a trap, I'm gonna be pissed.
1. Attack commencing. Capture objective A.
Boosting up.
Hello there. This will protect us.
Very nice.
Quick thinking. They're getting one back.
Alright, Reinhardt.
Paradise.
Alright, well, if their tanks are just feeding, that's fine to sit in your back line. Though now that we're up so many characters, this is where we want to be getting extra aggressive. Uh-oh. When we're be careful about getting that aggressive. We were getting close to our ult, so it's possible you were thinking that, like, you know, you could have ulted to get out, but we were far enough away to where we weren't gonna get it in the next 2 seconds. So we want to make sure that you're just playing a little bit more passive in that scenario, using cover, not jumping into their team. Now, when we're 90%, now we can be getting a lot more aggressive because we know that we have our ultimate if we need it.
Natural selection.
Capturing the objective. Additional support would be appreciated.
Oh, excellent juggling there.
Being at optimal levels.
My position. Thank you. Effective forward fire.
I'm in a pickle. I'm in a pickle. Yep.
Oh.
Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
Further experimentation required.
Securing the payload.
Changing position.
Go for that junk rat. Alright. I'm going behind.
Coming through.
Systems on fire.
Alright, now we are doing pretty good this game, but unfortunately I'm going to have to ask you to leave so we can go over some ending stuff. You know, alright. So,
I was having a little too much fun, man. Alright.
Alright, so, you know, same as usual, we're going to go over main points, do a quick review, and then wrap up from there. So, jump usage, doing a lot better with those short jumps, those still get, you know, making sure we're getting used to when to use what. Of course, it's, you know, you're doing really good with it, just always going to be that next step of getting more consistent to doing it as often as possible, of getting it right as often as possible. Sometimes you'd like leap past some people, sometimes you'd leap a little too short from people, so we're just getting used to it, etc. Bubble usage, talked a lot on bubble usage. Make sure that we're actually just using bubble for things that bubble's necessary for, right? So not just plopping it down for everyday random spam, but for using it when we're actually in fights, or duels, or blocking abilities, or ultimates, or when we're low and in danger, right? Or just in danger, right? So, or we're getting aggressive, or backing up, right? So just right there, I gave you, like, you know, bunch of different examples of ways we can use our bubble. Main one is don't just walk into a fight, be this far away from your enemies, and then just go boop, and then just let it sit there, because it's not going to do a whole lot that way, right? So overall ability usage, probably say goes to medium, maybe a medium high, though I'm not sure if it deserves a medium high, so somewhere around that range. Just because abilities on Monkey aren't, some abilities on some characters are, but like abilities on Monkey never is gonna get like insanely high unless you stink with them. So overall it's like a medium, maybe a medium high, probably a medium. Moving on to your ultimate usage. Ultimate usage, juggling was looking a lot more solid. Just make sure you kind of have a solid objective in mind when you're pressing the ult button and you're thinking through, like, what am I doing with my ult? Who am I going for? What am I trying to kill him? Am I trying to boop him? Where am I trying to boop him to? Etc. Make sure we're using our ult to save our lives. If when we're about to die, pay attention to what your ult charge is. That way we're not leaping in when we're still, you know, like 75 and expecting to have it. Overall though, not too bad. Probably like a low to medium priority for you to work on. Then moving on, Monkey does not have mechanics, and target priority was looking pretty solid. Not many big problems. A couple tiny things like make sure you're not chasing after the Tracer when you know you can't kill Tracer. And then maybe like once in a while we would focus the wrong target, but overall looked pretty solid. Moving on, positioning, make sure that we are using cover, right? Not leaping out of it. Don't spam jump. Good positioning is usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. Same as usual. Look to take high grounds. Trying to think. We might maybe in the future go over like pathing. If that's something, because I didn't maybe notice a little bit of that. I'll keep my eye on the time because we have time at the end. Maybe we'll go over that. But yeah, moving on. Overall positioning was probably like a low to medium. Then we also finally have awareness slash aggression, right, in that whole category. Overall, probably, make sure we're paying attention to our health bar, going for health packs, because sometimes we just kind of sit around, even if our sports are like dead or something, and there are health packs right next to us, so pay attention to where health packs are and go for them. Other than that, request healing, and then even more than just requesting healing, put yourself in front of your supports. Sometimes, like, our supports would be right here and be like, I need healing, I need healing, I need healing, right, and they're just not looking at us, but, like, note that, ignore those guys. Note that sometimes if you just step in front of their faces, it's hard for them not to heal you, right? Like, if you're like this on Ana, how's Ana not going to heal you, right? Or at least see you. Besides that, make sure that we're paying attention to just what team comps are people on. How close are we to our ults? Make sure we're not Tesling when the people aren't close to us, just getting more efficient, or consistent and efficient at that. And then overall, probably awareness slash aggression is probably like a low to medium. Overall, I would say that in general, I think that you are doing very solid in most of the games that you were playing there. If I'm not mistaken, you won all of them, question mark?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's been a consistent pattern, but if you're trying in quick play, it's not that difficult to win them. Right? It's really the people who aren't trying who just end up losing in quick play. Whereas in comp, everybody's trying most of the time. So I would probably say that just in general there wasn't as much to go off of since it wasn't as competitive of games. Typically quick play isn't like terrible, but since we've already gone over the very basics of stuff, right, we've already discussed that in previous sessions. Quick play is probably, like, just off of this session, it's becoming less of a, I would say less of a help, as it's not as competitive. The people aren't forcing mistakes out of you. They're kind of just existing right on the other team. Their tanks are feeding half of the time, running into your team. So if you'd like to take the recommendation, if you're looking for further improvement, might recommend hopping into some comp. Maybe we could do a replay review for some more in depth. More in depth, being able to pause and go into things if you'd like to. But I would just like to, we can definitely go over quick plays in the future if you want to. Just letting you know that you might find a little bit more value out of going into comp or replay. So, besides that, putting that all in order real quick. Number 1 is probably your ability usage. Number 2 is probably awareness. 3 is probably just going to be your ult usage. 4 is going to be your positioning, and then 5 is going to be your mechanics. Do you have any questions about anything we've gone over at all?
So, nah, I think I'll probably hop into some comp, as days progress and try to go from there and hopefully pick up some dubs.
Yep, I mean, just make sure that you're focusing just on improvement and taking it one thing at a time. Focus on the top thing. When you start improving, you start winning. Of course, it sucks to lose, but also don't put too much weight in it. It's only a video game, and then that can also just shifting that mentality of losses don't really ultimately matter, can make it hurt less when you do lose. But of course, I still understand it stinks to not be winning games. I've played enough video games and games in general to understand that. Yeah, but besides that, just make, the objective should be winning. So when you feel good when you win, so look to get better so that you can do that, right? That's the goal with the coaching at the very least, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
all right, so I have like 3 minutes left. Real quick, pathing, if we're trying to get from point A to point B, you want to take the best path available. If we're trying to get to point here and we're all the way over here, we have different options. We could just walk straight down main here, but then we take a whole heck of a lot of damage. Alternatively, we could do something like this, where we jump up the high ground and then just now they can't see us for this entire path. This is called pathing, or choosing the best path here, and then just drop straight on top of them and they can't really do very much damage to us. Additionally, we could drop around right side if we're trying to be more sneaky. We could come high ground, that way they don't even know we're dropping on top of them. Extra surprise advantage. We can choose to go high ground, we can choose to go right side. It depends on what our objective is, where we're going. But in general, sometimes we just kind of waltz down main rather than thinking through, like, okay, how could I get from point A to point B without taking damage, right? And sometimes you can even bring your team along with you and then they don't take damage, right? If they're following you up to the high ground and whatnot. So think through, how do I get there? Specifically using using cover and high grounds, right? Other than that, I'm gonna end the recording there. I'll get you your recording.